Relax. Any of you watch these things? Or why not? But you have to request access. I can't grant it until you request it. So request it. Feast your eyes on what the crap we're looking at here. Okay. How many of you have taken or are currently taking an English class? Okay. So the language, the verbiage that is over here should look familiar to you, and that is because the English department and the social studies department met one day several years ago and said, let's write papers in a similar fashion. Let's use the same terms together. That's right. And so you should recognize. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So for some of you, we are about to write paragraph number 4. And for some of you, we are about to write paragraph number 2. It's paragraph number 4 if what?
If we agree.
If you agree that the words are unconstitutional and as a result should be removed, this is your 4th paragraph. Maybe label it such, right? This is just the rough draft, so maybe you should write paragraph number 4, underline it, and then start writing. If you do not agree, you disagree with this claim, then this is your 2nd paragraph. You're going to acknowledge the argument, but you are going to refute it. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is write our topic sentence. At any point, if you know what you're doing, do it. Stop waiting for me. Go, fly. But if you're not sure quite yet, that's okay. Stick with me. You'll go places. We are going to write the first sentence. It's going to go something like this. The first reason Are you still lost?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Some of you are still lost. Or you could do it this way. One reason. Does that help?
Yeah. I'm confused when the 4th paragraph or the 2nd.
Okay,
Which one are you?
that's fine. Do you think, you don't have to answer this out loud, but just mentally answer this question. Do you think the word should be removed? Okay. You have your answer?
Yeah.
If the answer was yes, then this is your 4th paragraph.
Yeah.
If it's no, it's your 2nd paragraph.
So right now, are you on the 4th paragraph? Or both?
Well, our 4th paragraph, some of you are writing 2nd paragraph.
But it's
In essence, we're going to be writing it in mostly the same way. There is one argument. If you don't buy it, you're going to refute it. And then some of you are going to, you buy it. You're not going to refute it. Yes? So the difference here is the first reason, and then for those of you who are writing it, but you don't buy it, the first reason some people claim. Now I will finish this sentence. If you really are sitting here, you don't know what to do. The first reason the word should be removed is that they are unconstitutional. Period. You buy it. It's right. That's 4th paragraph. But if you're not buying it, then you phrase it slightly different. The first reason some people claim the word should be removed is that they believe the words are unconstitutional. You see the difference? One is, this is so. It be. The other one is, here's what they think. There's your difference. Our next goal in this paragraph is called context. Over here, you'll notice that I've got sort of instructions about what the goal is for each part of the paragraph. Context is when you explain to the reader what's happening in our society that makes this discussion necessary? Why are we even talking about this? What's happening in our society? So I'm beginning it at this time, or you might start it right now. You could, and there are a million different ways you could go with it. How about this? Why don't you say, right now, NFL players are taking a knee during the national anthem to protest police brutality. And so the issue of patriotism is definitely in the news. That's an option. Or you could say, at this time, throughout schools in America, kids are standing up, putting their hands on their hearts and saying the pledge. Okay, you're setting the table, right? You're putting the plates on the table, and pretty soon, dinner time. But it isn't dinner time yet. You're just getting ready for dinner time. There's no wrong way to set this up. It's just, you're just making it. What if Mr. Schultz, who eats, lives, and breathes math, and he's coming in here and you say, hey, Mr. Schultz, I'd like to talk to you about the Pledge of Allegiance. And his response is 2. And you're like, yeah, that's a good point, Mr. Schultz. But listen, it's a controversial subject because it's got the word God in it. And he says X. And you're like, very good point, Mr. Schultz. So make it so that he, by the time you're done with the context, is ready to hear your argument. That's what context is. Make it so that the reader is ready to hear your argument. Go. And if right now you're just struggling and you don't know what to do, just say, at this time, the First Amendment separation of church and state is in the news. There. Free. But can you think on your own a little? Yes, you can. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Was it just me, or did you feel like you were watching Dora the Explorer this morning with Miss Donnelly? I was crying laughing so hard. How about she picked up a pair of leggings? That was getting a little uncomfortable.
She told me in the hallway that they weren't planted.
Oh, really? I thought it was planted.
No, she said it was actually like an icky pair of leggings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Who just takes off their leggings?
There's probably that.
Now, friends, context might take you a sentence or two. There's nothing that says this must be one sentence long and the next sentence must be one sentence long and the next sentence must be. It might take you a few sentences just to set the table. Think of context as setting the table so that even Mr. Schultz can now be receptive to the argument.
I don't know if Mr. Schultz would even care about this argument.
Oh, he would care.
I don't think
He would care like X times Y.
What?
You understand?
I think he'd just tell you to go do some math for
Math. Hey, that's from School of Rock. Math. 6 times a billion is.
6 billion.
And 54 is 44 more than what's the answer, Marta?
no comment.
You say 9. Say 9. No, it's 8.
Okay.
No, it's 9.
It's 9.
That's right. It's 9. And that's a magic number. Have you not seen School of Rock?
How much free time?
No.
That is a great. School of Rock is a great movie. Oh, you got to watch that movie. It's really good. Okay, are we ready? Sorry, my fault. Are you ready?
No, I'm not.
No. You say, yes, we're ready. Ready? Are you ready?
No, we're not.
Are you ready?
No, we're not.
And now together, ready for love. Okay. We are going to now provide evidence. And the evidence that I would suggest is one of the documents. I'm throwing out document number 8. Because document number 8 makes this argument.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Speaker credibility, quote and footnote. So go find the who said document number 8. What is his name? Is it Michael Newdow? Okay. Michael Newdow, comma, and now establish his credibility. Who's Michael Newdow? It says right above the document who Michael Newdow is. Isn't he the founder of some like church or something? First Adventist Church of True Science. So Michael Newdow, comma, the founder of the First Adventist Church of Christ or of Science, comma, said, comma.
Isn't that the dude who?
That's him.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the guy who sued the Elk Grove School District, but then lost the case because he wasn't the dad. Technicality. Okay. If you do correctly, there will be at least 4 commas. Speaker, comma, credibility, comma, said, comma, and then you put the actual quote. Now, rough draft, don't write the whole thing. Just write first word, dot, 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 last word. When you type this thing, type it all up.
Wait, like the entire document?
The entire part of the document that you feel makes the point, right? Yeah, I don't think the whole document is necessary. Now, whatever your last word is in your quote, put a comma after it, and then a quotation mark, comma, said, comma, quote, blah, comma, quote, space, parentheses, 8, parentheses, dot. That's how you do it. 4 commas. You'll notice that there really is no difference yet between those of you who agree with this argument and those of you who do not. That's arriving shortly. The differences are arriving. But so far, we're all on this together. What's up?
Can I borrow the Chromebook? You're signed up for like 20 minutes. Are you good?
Yeah, and if I only knew where that was,
It's in this crack back room.
it's all yours.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Bring it back in 40 minutes.
Don't forget that you owe me big time.
I'll remember.
I know. Are we ready? Sorry. Are you ready?
Yes, we're ready. Yes, we're ready.
The tone and the pitch. Okay, you got to explain it in your own words. And the way you do that is you saying, Newdow believes that. And then what? What does he believe? Can you say it in your own words? Do they have the ability to say the same thing without saying the same thing? Can you say the same thing without using the same words Newdow uses? Because that's what you need to do. Right? For example, the quote is, Will is pretty. And it's from a guy named George. So George, a moron, that's his credibility. George, a moron, said, quote, Will is pretty. And now I have to interpret in my own words what that means. What George means is, he ain't ugly. There, I did it. I explained it in my own constitutional. It violates the First Amendment separation of church and state. Interesting debate point that I heard on Monday was that, it was a great verbal sparring match between these two. Kudos to both of you. It was wonderful. He said you cannot do this in a public institution. And then what she said is, but doesn't that violate my freedom of speech? And then he said, no, go ahead, say it, but the school can't lead it. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm saying that's what Newdow's saying. You can't have an official presentation of the words under God. That's his point. And again, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. So what you did was great. Okay. So interpret the words. Okay. Ignore that second part there. Just interpret the words in. You have to provide an example which demonstrates this argument in action. And right now I'm talking to those of you who agree the word should be removed. And I'm giving you a freebie. Here you go. A couple years ago, this is true, a couple years ago in the state of Georgia, one of the state Supreme Court justices had the 10 Commandments put in the courtroom because he said we need more God in the courts. And he was fired. Now, they don't fire judges, they impeach them. But I think you know what fired means, okay? You can't do that. You can't put the 10 Commandments in a courtroom, right? That's religion. And so, no. And the 10 Commandments were removed. Well, what's the difference? What's the difference between forcing the 10 Commandments being removed from a public atmosphere and removing the words under God? It's the same thing, according to this argument. Okay? That's what you're doing. You're saying, well, if we remove that, then we should remove this. This is an example of removal of a religious object for the same reason. And if you remove that, then you need to remove this. You understand? Those of you who agree with document or paragraph 4, right? So you can use these magical words, for example, and then tell me that story that I just told you. And this might take you 2, 3, 4 sentences. Great. And then your conclusion is, well, if the 10 Commandments needed to be removed from that Georgia courtroom, then the words under God need to be removed from the pledge. And now what about the rest of you? Those of you that aren't buying it. You still interpret Newdow's point of view. Newdow believes that. But he's wrong. And now we have a separation between the portion of this room that buys it and the portion of you that aren't buying it. And there's your example. What about currency? Money. It says in God we trust. And even atheists can use money. Well, if you don't have to remove the word God from a coin, then why don't you just leave it in the pledge? You see? So prove to Mr. Schultz that if it's perfectly okay to leave the word God on a dollar bill, then it's perfectly okay to leave the word God in the pledge. Now, again, this might take you 3, 4, 5 sentences. Go ahead.
So, like, if people are working to get, like, the words under God removed from the pledge, are people working to get it removed from, like, a dollar bill?
Oh, probably.
Okay.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I know they haven't yet, obviously, but.
Yeah, right. Yes, I imagine so. Oh, there are people that have all sorts of causes. There's a person who I've seen on the Minnesota ballot. So each state makes their own ballot, and he's running from the Make the Duck the Official Bird of America party. Why the eagle? It's a predator. The duck is pretty. That's his cause.
But he quacks.
It's America.
America. Ducks are sweet. Again, the conclusion you're trying to reach here is, well, gee, if it's like this, then we should do that. Whether it's here, well, if you remove the 10 Commandments, then you got to remove the words under God. And then, or over here, well, if the words under God or in God we trust are okay in the coins, then they should be okay in the pledge. Right? You're making an argument. Okay. A thought that I have for those of you who aren't buying it is something that you're welcome to add in if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine too. And that is, it's not an endorsement. If you use a quarter, you're not endorsing any religion. You're paying for a gumball. That's what you're doing. You're not endorsing the existence of God by using a dollar. I'm buying Skittles, which I did yesterday. I bought some Skittles and I used $1. And the guy didn't take the dollar and say, thank you, God bless you, Christian. You just like, thanks. And I didn't say praise Jesus. It didn't happen
Why not? That doesn't happen.
because I was buying Skittles.
You should have. It's a good thing to do anytime. If I was Jesus, those skills wouldn't have been there.
Okay, all right. The last thing we're doing for both of us, everybody in this room, is the transition. Because A is true, B is true. Or if you're not buying it, because some people mistakenly believe A is true, they argue that B is true. Again, if you know what you're doing, do it. If you're not quite sure what I'm getting at here, wait about 10 seconds and I will talk you through it. But if you think you know what's going on, then wrap this up. What you're doing is you're saying, because of what's true in the paragraph, what's true in the paper. Does that help? All right, I'll say it this way. Because the words violate the Constitution, comma, the word should be removed. Or because some people mistakenly believe that the words violate the Constitution, comma, they argue the word should be removed. Period. There's your wrap up. And C. When you're done, you can put that away. We're done writing paragraphs. Now we're going to talk about homework. How many of you did your little slideshow on homework? Homework, whether homework should be done. Oh, well, okay. I guess we know who's up. We'll probably do another topic then. If there's only one. We'll end this bad boy right now.